I know you're eager for me to talk about El Trafico, but keep in mind, just like the title said, this is not just the El Trafico review, but the review of today's game that happened in the MLS's back tournament, and that I want to give Portland Timbers and Dynamo fans some respect by talking about their game first, and then we of course will get to the crazy stuff. And if you don't want me to kind of just talk about the Dynamo versus Timbers game first, I will leave a link in the description below and kind of a timestamp of when I actually begin talking about El Trafico. But that being said, the first game between the Timbers and the Dynamo finished with a 2-1 win for the Portland Timbers, and with this win, they pretty much are now moving on into the next round of 16, and that they're guaranteed to be one of those top two teams that's coming out of Group F. Now, in the first half, Merrick denied Jimmy Chara of a potential game-opening goals in the 16th minute, and I thought both teams had some chances on both ends, and that the Dynamo had a lot of decent chances of potentially getting the opening goal. One of them came in the 31st minute when Figueroa free kick shot almost gave the Dynamo the opening goal, but it just went a little bit wide. Then Merrick denied Jimmy Chara again on a 1v1 before the Timbers get the opening goal of this game from Abogasi and Blanco to give them a 1-0 lead at that point. The Dynamo, though, continued to push on to try to get the equalizer, and Steve Clark, who has been pretty impressive in these first two games of this MLS's back tournament, denies Minotas, who actually went through on goal, and we head to halftime at a 1-0 score line in favor of the Portland Timbers. Second half, Blanco actually went 1v1 on goal, but unfortunately he just dragged his shot wide. Thankfully for the Timbers, they eventually would double that lead, and it would be Diego Valeri that doubles the lead from Williamson and Mabiola. And the Timbers were up 2-0 at that point. And really, after that point, I thought the Dynamo, with just the amount of shots that they have taken in this game, and that at times I thought that they were kind of the more dominant team, kind of started to fade away after that second goal came in. And it almost felt like that second goal really deflated their momentum that they had of potentially getting a goal in this game. And that I also thought the Dynamo, they just couldn't defend and finish in this game. Like, as I will get to in terms of the shots count, they had a lot of shots in this game, and they were just basically shooting from everywhere in this one. In the 84th minute, the Dynamo did get a lifeline when VAR actually awarded them a penalty after Villafania handballed it. I know some people will say that this might not be clear and obvious with the way that Villafania kind of handled it, and maybe he didn't actually touch it. But anytime when you decided to raise your hand that high up in the ground when you're trying to head the ball away, and that not only that hand is not in a natural position, but you are always going to get a huge risk of the ball potentially hitting your hand. Like, in other words, I have no idea what in the world was Villafania doing with his hand that high up in the air, and it's unsurprising that they eventually said that was a handball, and the Dynamo, of course, got a penalty, which Albert Valise was able to put away to give them a lifeline heading into the last 5 minutes. But unfortunately, Elise basically went from hero to zero in just 2 minutes in this game, because he got a red card just 2 minutes after he scored the penalty. What happened was that he actually hit a face of a Timbers player. I kind of forgot who exactly it was, but originally it was a straight red there, and I thought that kind of punch was kind of a little bit soft to be a straight red. But then I also just realized that was actually supposed to be a second yellow for Elise if that straight red didn't show. So in the end, it didn't really matter what color the card was. He was going to be sent off either way, whether it was a straight red or a second yellow. And really, at that point, I knew that the Timbers probably is not going to give up another goal, and that the Dynamo, their chances of coming back was already slim before the penalty. They have no chance now. The fact that they had a man sent off for the last couple of minutes. And in the end, the Timbers were able to once again win 2-1 in this tournament. And as I said, they are now moving on into the next round of 16 and still are at the top of Group F. In terms of shots in this game, 13 shots compared to 22 that the Dynamo had, 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Dynamo has, 4 shots off target compared to 9 that the Dynamo has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 11 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Dynamo has. And again, despite the fact that Dynamo had a lot of shots in this game, they were just shooting from everywhere. And the fact that they only had 4 shots on goal out of those 22 shots, and that they had a ton of shots that was blocked, something tells me they weren't really taking clear-cut opportunity. And that, as the old saying goes, it doesn't matter how many shots you will get in a game. You can have like 30 or 20 shots in a game, as long as you are not shooting it from a very good range and you're just basically shooting from outside the box where the keeper can easily get to it and defenders can block those shots. It doesn't really matter in the end, and that it doesn't really help your chances of potentially winning the game. And Dynamo, of course, find out the hard way in this game, and now in the next game against the LA Galaxy, they need to, of course, win that game if they want any chances of potentially moving on into the next round. But that being said, now let's get to the much anticipated part of the review, which is talk about El Trafico. And you knew this game was going to have goals in this one, and that I really think coming into this game, it wasn't really about how many goals is there going to be scored in this game, but it was really more about which defense is going to fall apart the most. Like, coming into this game, I knew there was going to be a tons of goals because not only the talent going forward on the attack, but also really just how bad the defense was from both teams. And after seeing this performance, it was the Galaxy defense that ultimately just completely crapped the bed, and they did it monumentously in the second half. Now, before the game was starting, and I think the announcer actually said it during this one, they actually broke the breaking news that Chicharito were not going to be playing in this game because he suffered a hip injury during training on Thursday. And I thought with Chicharito not playing for the Galaxy, they looked like they were screwed going forward on the attack. But, you know, at least for the first half, they actually looked better without Chicharito, and that their attack looked much more kind of cohesive, which kind of makes me wonder, you know, is it a good idea to have Chicharito with the Galaxy in the first place? And that, are they going to make even a very bold decision? And this is going to be something that Guillermo Barros-Schelotto is going to think about. Is he going to make the bold decision of not putting Chicharito up front and just leave Pavone and Leggett going forward on the attack? Because, again, they look very cohesive in the first half at least. Now, the Galaxy were the first team to strike first in this El Trafico, and it came in the 5th minute when Blessing, of course, scored an own goal. And at that point, I knew there was going to be a ton of goals in this game. Like, I've seen this story many times before with El Trafico, where whenever there's an early goal, there is going to be a ton more later on in this game. And as judging by how many goals eventually was scored, I was definitely not incorrect in terms of what we're about to see in this game. But unfortunately, in a Galaxy standpoint, you probably might start to look away once I start talking about the second half. That lead, unfortunately, only lasted 7 minutes when Rossi scores on the penalty after Kitchen brought down BWP in the box. Some will say that it was a soft penalty and maybe Bradley Wright-Phillips kind of went down a little bit too easily, but from what I saw of how Kitchen kind of grabbed the waist side of BWP and the way that he kind of wrestled him down, yeah, that's usually going to be called a penalty, no matter if the striker might have went down on the ground way too easily like that. Anytime when you get hands to an attacker and you're in the box and you brought him down, it's always going to be a penalty. The Galaxy, though, then get a penalty kick after Corona after Corona was brought down by Jakovic. And then this is where the weirdness of El Trafico brings into the play. Bingham originally saved Pavone's penalties, but the linesman actually said that or actually not Bingham, Sesiaga actually originally saved the penalty from Pavone, but the linesman said that Sesiaga was actually off his lines, and clearly on the replay it looked like he was way off his line, and that was definitely a great call from the linesman. So the penalty was retake, and on the second attempt, Pavone was able to bury the penalty, and the Galaxy were once again up 2-1. Now in the 38th minute, tempers started to flare with both teams as there was some pushing and shoving happening on both sides because, this is El Trafico and this is a rivalry game. You're going to expect both teams not going to really be friends with each other during this game. And then right on the stroke of halftime, Rossi would score his second, what would be a career best 4-goal game in this one to make it 2-2 heading into halftime. And this goal, I really think it deflated the Galaxy because they thought that they were going to head to halftime 2-1, and I thought in the first half they play a perfect game against the Galaxy, or against LAFC that is. Then that, of course, happened. And in the second half, it feels like they definitely suffered that late goal that they conceded because they definitely did not look like the same team after that. Although I will say this, I think the big moment of this game and the moment that this game changed happened in the 54th minute when the Galaxy looked like they were up 3-2 when Pavone actually scored the goal, but unfortunately they ruled it was offside. And I'll tell you what, it was a very, very close goal, and that on one angle it looked like he was clearly onside, but on the other they said that he was just offside, and that I'm kind of surprised they didn't actually really check that a little bit more to see whether or not if that was an offside call. But they disallowed that goal and disallowed the Galaxy to potentially retake the lead for the third time. And then literally 2 minutes after that goal was disallowed, Bradley Wright Phillips would score from Rodriguez and Rossi to give LAFC the 3-2 lead. And then after that, it was pretty much all LAFC, and they started to really put the hammer down. Rossi would complete his hat-trick in the 76th minute from Rodriguez and Cifuentes. And despite the fact that Rodriguez, he didn't score a goal in this game, and he did had a couple of chances to score a goal in this game, is able to get 2 assists in this game to add to his book. And then in the 80th minute, Al Munir would score from Janela to give LAFC a 5-2 lead up until that point. And I wrote Bingham probably should have done better in terms of that instant. I mean, I think he kind of got caught in two minds with the way that he thought that El Munir shot was going to go wide, so he kind of stopped a little bit. But unfortunately, it didn't go wide, and instead it goes into the back of the net. And at that point, yeah, it was 5-2, and at that point, you knew this game was over, and that the Galaxy defense was just completely falling apart. But obviously, LAFC, they definitely did not show any mercy whatsoever, and that they probably realized that, since this is a tournament, and since goal differential is very important, I can't tell you how. I don't get why many of these teams in this tournament don't realize that goal differential is probably the most important thing in this tournament. This is not like the regular season where wins is probably the most important, but goal differential is so important in this tournament because, when you get to a point where if there's a tiebreaker that is being used, goal differential is the first thing that determines the tiebreaker. And, you got to credit Bob Bradley for knowing that and basically telling his player to keep going even though the game was out of reach, because he's thinking about the goal differential, and that if there is certain cases where they might be tied with either the Portland Timbers or maybe be another team to potentially get that second or first spot, they are going to have the superior goal differential because they got a +4 goal differential coming out of this game. And in the last minute of the game, Diego Rossi scored the fourth goal. Well, he scored his 4th goal in the game and scored the 6th goal for LAFC from Janea and Blessing. And there you have it. LAFC absolutely destroying the Galaxy in this game 6-2. Although I really think they they really come alive in the second half, and that it was a combination of what happened in the second half where LAFC basically looked like the LAFC that we all know from the Supporters Shield winning season last year, and the Galaxy defense just completely decided to not play defense whatsoever in the second half. And in terms of shots in this game, 19 shots compared to 6 that LAFC, or actually I got that wrong. You wish the Galaxy had 19 shots there. It's actually got the LA team wrong here in terms of the stats. It was LAFC, the one that had 19 shots compared to 6 that the Galaxy had. 12 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Galaxy had. 5 shots off target compared to 1 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that the Galaxy had in this game. And that, for LAFC, now sitting at 4 points, they're definitely in a good spot of potentially moving on into the next round. Although their next opponent against the Portland Timbers, that could be a very interesting game, knowing the fact that the Timbers have looked very good so far in this tournament, and that the Timbers, whenever they play against LAFC, I always think the Timbers are the one that could potentially slow down LAFC, because they're a team that basically play right in that LAFC with the style that they play, kind of play right into the hand of the Portland Timbers, where they love to just sit deep and trying to counter attack LAFC. And knowing the fact that the defense of LAFC, which I thought tonight at some point they also didn't look very good in this game whatsoever, that will be a very interesting one to see how that is going to end up. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of tonight. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these two games, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of El Trafico. If you ask me, is this the best El Trafico? Nah, I mean, the scoreline, obviously, this is one of the highest scoring El Trafico that we had, and LAFC have now scored the most goal out of any El Trafico whatsoever. But I've seen better El Trafico before, and that I really think the first El Trafico is still probably the best one, knowing what just happened in that game, and that it felt like just a Hollywood scripting with the way that the Galaxy came back from 3-0 down, and that obviously Zlatan, his introduction in El Trafico and scoring those 2 goals, it just doesn't feel like it's actually a real game, and it felt more like a Hollywood movie script whatsoever. But this will definitely be going up there as one of the more entertaining El Trafico game, and that, yeah, this game, I swear, it doesn't matter where you play this game. You can literally play this game in a foreign country, and yet this will be a high-scoring game, because that both of these attack are hungry for goals, and not to mention both of these defense are not very good whatsoever. And that really in this game, I just feel like it's not really about who has the better squad, but it's more like whose defense can hold the stronger attack at bay the most. And tonight, we found out LAFC were the one that their defense, despite the fact that there's been time that they got banned, they were able to hold on, whereas the Galaxy defense just completely collapsed in the second half. But there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I, of course, will see you guys next time.